Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a thirsty bitch. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Rafael, and I'm here to review episode 13 of The Real Housewives Who Will Hunt You Down If You Talk About Their Husbands of Beverly Hills. We start the episode off with Lisa at her house. And she calls everybody on the cast one by one on FaceTime to invite them to this event that she's having at her house for her rosé. I believe it was called Rena Rosé, which it should be called Rotten Rosé, but okay. So she's calling Kyle first, and Kyle, she can't make it, unfortunately, because she has COVID. So she has to stay inside the house in quarantine. But you know that is not stopping Kyle from plotting, from being producer behind the scenes, because you know she's pacing back and forth in her kitchen like, okay, as soon as my test comes back negative, how can I insert myself in conversation that has nothing to do with me? And how can I defend Erika for the 100th time for being wrong? I have a couple ideas. You know she's plotting in her kitchen. So then she calls Dorit. Dorit says she'll go, but you know Dorit, she's happy to go anywhere as long as she plays dress up. So then she calls Erika, but Erika doesn't pick up because she can't afford her phone bill, so she can't pay it this month. So then she calls Sutton. Sutton agrees to go. Sutton, I mean, little does she know that she's about to get attacked as soon as she gets to Lisa's house. She calls over to Garcelle. Garcelle's like, yeah, I'll go. You know, as long as I could, produce a scene between Erika and Sutton, I'll go. And Lisa's like, it's okay. You could produce all you want because I'm also going to go after the attack on Sutton. I'm going to attack her and threaten her to get out of my house. So you do you. But honestly, if I'm going to this event, I'm not drinking anything that's coming out of Rena's house because, she's the Wicked Witch of Beverly Hills. And she'll probably add like a magic potion or something in this rosé to try to take my soul or something. So absolutely not. Like, you won't take my soul. Like, it's not happening. I'll show up with a nice little water bottle and a cute little outfit and call it a day. We head over to Sutton's house and we see her dog Waylon just tearing up her entire backyard. I mean, he is just tearing up the entire ground. He is chewing on it. And then we see Sutton. Sutton's inner white woman came out because she was just like, no, Waylon, stop. Gosh darn it, Waylon. No, Waylon, stop. I want to talk to your manager. Waylon, stop it right now, mister. I said stop it right now. And I'm like, damn, Sutton, relax. It's just a dog. But eventually they get the dog back inside. They're all inside and she's talking to both her son and her daughter. Her daughter looks exactly like her. Like, it's almost like uncanny. So she's also making some nasty chicken salad and it sounded so gross the way she was adding so much extra mayo. And she goes on to say, oh, the secret recipe to a good chicken salad is to add so much mayo. She's like, I know it sounds nasty and all, but it still tastes good. Her son is just like, yeah, it sounds nasty. And just hearing it made my skin crawl because it sounds like two people having really passionate sex together. And I'm like, ew, it just sounds so gross and it just looked nasty too. And all I got from this scene is that this scene should have been cut maybe 30, 45 seconds a little shorter or just cut all together because I feel like it went on for too long. But all I got from it is that her son, after school, he felt like he got comfortable with his lifestyle and he got bored of it. So he thought, oh, let me just join the military just because. And imagine being that privileged and that rich that, you get uncomfortable with your lifestyle. Like, oh, I'm just so rich. I'm tired of going on so many trips and going on yachts and just buying whatever I feel like. I feel like being poor today, or at least struggling. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join the military or go to Georgia to work in Chipotle. Imagine being privileged enough to have that as like a hobby. Like, you know what, mom? I feel like struggling today. So can you just take me somewhere else and cut off all my credit cards? Imagine that. Must be nice. Then we get Garcelle and Dorit meeting up at this restaurant for lunch. And Dorit is just always extra when ordering anything off the menu. She'll literally be like, do you think that I can get a vodka and rum in my cup? But do you think that you could add a strawberry to it? But the strawberry, it has to be imported from Italy. I love Italy. Me and my husband PK, we have been there so many times and we enjoy the strawberries from Italy. So can you just add one in and remove the carcass, please? Okay, make sure that you remove the carcass. Oh, and can you make sure that the strawberry, it has like maybe 15 C's in it? I like 15. It's one of my favorite numbers. Also, can you add like a little bit of Coke to it as well, like Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola. I don't do Pepsi, but I love Coca-Cola. But can you just add like an ounce of it? Yeah, like an ounce, like 2-3 ounces. I like my, my Coca-Cola in a certain sizes. Also, can you add an olive in it? But can you make sure that the olive is dark green and not light green? I love dark green because it's one of my favorite colors, please. Also, can you wrap it up in a napkin at a 75-degree angle? Yeah, I love 75-degree angles. So do you think that you could just order my drink correctly, please? Thank you so much. And I'm like, Dorit, like, if you don't just say that you want a vodka and Coke and call it a day, like by the time that she is done ordering her drink, the restaurant is time to close and we have to leave. But she orders that. Eventually, they get into talking. Garcelle fills her in on what she's been doing. She's been recording the audio version of her book, her memoir, and she also goes on to say after a couple of these sessions, she's noticed that all these wounds that she thought they healed up over time in her life, they're not all fully healed. Specifically, this one wound with Bill Cosby. She had an encounter with him, and I'm like, wow, who did this man not traumatize in his life? I mean, he's been around everybody, just leaving a path of destruction. Like, that is just sad. And she also goes on to say that she's been in Playboy at one point, which I actually didn't know that about her. So then she moves the conversation over to Dorit, and she's like, so wait, Dorit, I heard about PK and this DUI. What happened with that? Dorit, all of a sudden, she got defensive, and she changed up the entire story from last week. She's like, DUI? PK? Absolutely not. It never happened. No. You mean alleged DUI? No. He never got arrested. What do you mean? What are you talking about? He doesn't even drive. He doesn't even drink. It was all alleged. And I'm like, Dorit, which one is it? Was he drunk or was he not? Like, it can't be alleged. Like, it doesn't make sense. She goes on to say that supposedly this is how it happened. He was driving. The police pulled him over. They thought that he was drunk, so they took him down to the police station. They gave him a breathalyzer. I cannot pronounce it correctly. The thing that you stick in somebody's mouth to see if they've been drunk or whatever, or if it's over the limit of how much alcohol you have in your system. So it was underneath the limit, right? So they were like, okay, fine. We'll just tap you on your hand and we'll take you home and we'll tuck you in bed and stuff and give you some milk and cookies. And that was that. And I'm like, that was it. Like, literally, I mean, he was just drinking and driving, allegedly, and this is your reward for it? Garcelle, her response was perfect in her confessional. She was like, let it be anybody who's black, or let it be anybody that Garcelle knew. It would have been a whole different story. It would have been a whole completely different headline. And we all know it's true. I mean, it's unfortunate that, like, you know, something like this with PK, he has white privilege where he could just, I may have been drinking and driving. Can you just drive me home? And that's that, and valet my car, and that's that. And, if it was any other person, a person of color, a black person, it would just be a different headline in the news, So then Garcelle, she goes on to say that, I actually met up with Erika last night, and, she told me that she bumped her head and she fell on the floor or whatever after drinking so much. And Dorit, she was just like, oh my God, are you serious, my baby? What? Erika? She said that to you? Oh my God, no, we need to have an intervention. This is serious. Like, what? So Garcelle is just like, yeah, she promised me that she's not going to drink anymore as long as she's on her meds. And I'm like, silly you, Garcelle, because later on we'll see like her just, taking shot after shot after shot at Rinna's house. But then she goes on to say, yeah, she also went on to say that Sutton is a liability and I shouldn't really be around her too much because she's probably going to take me down. So Dorit is just like, really? I can't really see you being taken advantage by Sutton. And honestly, I can't either. Garcelle will honestly throw Sutton underneath the bus first before if it's ever the other way around. Garcelle is the producer. She knows what she's doing. Sutton, she's too nice. She'll let anybody just run her over and she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. It was my bad. I was driving the bus. So that was that. Then we head over to Erika's shoebox, and I'm convinced that all the people that we constantly see Erika surround herself with at her house every single episode, I'm convinced that they're all just a bunch of interns that Erika saw walking down the street one day and was just like, hey, everybody, you want to come into my house and film a TV show with me? Yeah, it's a popular TV show. It's good for exposure. It's going to be good for your resume. Come in here. What do you mean if you're getting paid? No, it's free 99. You're not getting paid anything. It's just exposure. Just come in here and talk about my hair and just pretend like you know me. And they sit down and have a casual conversation pretending to know each other. So then Erika, she goes on to talk about her favorite subject this season. What is it? Dick. She goes on to say that Mauricio, Kyle's husband, he's been trying to hook her up with an athlete that he knows. And he's also a gold Olympic medalist. And I'm like, somebody quickly go to Mauricio's Instagram and go through his following and see who he's following that's been in the Olympics. Maybe we could track down who this mystery person is. And I really doubt that anybody famous or anybody known would like to be dating Erika, because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want to be attached to all her legal issues if they know her. So I'm not sure how that would work. So Erika, she goes on to say, well, a lot of people, they've been really sliding into my DMs, and I'm really honestly, all I'm looking for is just sex and dick. I'm looking for dick. I love dick. My favorite word is DICK. I love dick. It's a funny story. I actually texted somebody saying, oh, thank you for the dick from last night. And they texted me back saying, I didn't give you any dick, but I'm trying to give you some. I think it's so funny. But yeah, I don't have time for boyfriends right now. So dick is the best way to do it right now. And I'm like, well, damn, Erika. Like, I love talking about dick and ass, as much as the next person, but damn, she's obsessed this season. She also goes on to say that she wants to become a dominatrix. And she's like, wait, can somebody please copyright Pretty Mess Dungeon? And I'm like, Candy from the Real Housewives of Atlanta, be careful, she's coming for your job. Imagine Candy Coated Nights and Pretty Mess, a collab. Let me find out Erika is going to start selling vibrating panties next. So then just imagine though, if Erika was an actual dominatrix, I believe that it would go with something like this. So, you're in here for a good time, huh? Okay, get on your fucking knees. Get on your fucking knees right now. Yeah, I love seeing you beg. Now open your fucking mouth. Or what? Or what? Or what? Give me the money right now. Hey, call me Miss Erika. Yeah, call me Miss Jane. Now tell me that my music is good. Now tell me that I deserve a Grammy. Yeah, now tell me that everything that I'm going through legally right now, tell me that I'm not guilty. Say it. Say it or else I'm gonna slap you. Now say it. Okay, good. I like it. Okay. You're a good boy. And you know what's funny? That I can actually see her doing a good job at it. She goes on to say that she likes to inflict pain in other people's lives. And I'm like, yeah, we saw what you and Tom are capable of doing to other people's lives, Erika. But that's neither here nor there. I guess get your money whatever way you can. We see Lisa and Sutton meeting up at this restaurant for lunch. And I'm like, Sutton, keep your eyes open. You don't know what Lisa has in her hair. So she starts talking about her Rena Rosé and Rena Chardonnay and how she hasn't designed the bottle for you yet. And Lisa, I'm going to give you some help here. So what you can do is get a mold of your hairdo and then make it into a glass and fill it up with your rosé, and boom, you can sell it to your fans or to your fan. I don't know how many you have. So then Sutton, she goes on to say, well, Lisa, I have some creative ideas for you if you ever want to hear it. And I'm like, yeah, Sutton, with the way you dress, I wouldn't want to take any type of creative ideas from you, so you could save it. So Lisa, she starts talking about her and Sutton's issue that they had at the beginning of the season about this charity. She's like, I know it was your fault that we got into it, and I know that it was your problem, and I know that it was your fault, and I know that you had to apologize in this whole situation, but I'm trying to move forward. And I'm like, Sutton, you're just letting this woman just talk all over you and saying that you were the cause of that and you were the reason why, this whole thing became an issue, when in fact it was actually Lisa who was lying about the whole thing. And you're just willing to take it. You're like, yeah, I know, I apologize. Yeah, I know, it was all my fault. And I'm like, Sutton, no, absolutely not. Like, Lisa is just walking all over you in her muddy shoes. Like, what's going on here? So then Lisa, she goes on to say that, yeah, I talked about it with Kathy and Crystal and I joked about it a little bit here and there, but you know what? Like I said, I'm trying to move forward and I'm trying to put it in the past. And what does that mean in her world? That she's not going to put it in the past and she's going to bring it up a couple of episodes later on. And she's just sitting there looking stuck and she's like, yeah, no, I understand. I get it. But, I'm glad that we're in a better place. And honestly, moving forward, I have no sympathy for Sutton, because if you're willing to just sit there and just let her talk to you whatever way you want, whatever way she wants, then, it is what it is. And Lisa, she goes on to say, oh, yeah, the only reason why I torture you, Sutton, is because I know that you could take it. That's why I torture you so much. And I'm like, Sutton, again, and you're just sitting there like stupidly like, yeah, I know I can take it. I know I'm a big girl. I can take it. And I'm like, Sutton, like, come on now. No, she's torturing you and she's making your life a living hell just because of it. Just because she wants, some amusement in her own life and she knows that she could do it. Even though you do put up a good fight with her, Erika, and Kyle for the most part this season, it's still not okay. And you just allow it. So again, moving forward, no sympathy for Sutton because she just allows this type of behavior. And then on top of that, Lisa goes on to tell her that she is such a lovable person that her heart grows and grows and grows. And I'm like, grows where? She must have had some Brenda Rosé before she met up with Sutton, because there's just no way. Like, there's no way that she believes that. So then Sutton goes on to say, yeah, you're just like the Grinch. Your heart grows and grows and grows. And I'm like, first of all, Sutton, don't you ever disrespect the Grinch like that. The Grinch is iconic, okay? He is a Christmas iconic figure, just like Mariah Carey. Lisa Rinna, I'm not sure what she is, but she's not the Grinch. So let's stop there. Lisa, again, I'm not sure how many bottles of rosé she had before this meetup, but delusional. Everybody's getting ready for Lisa Rinna's Raggedy Rosé event that she's having at her house. And I did not even notice that Diana was not in this episode at all until Dorit called her. I'm like, who is that woman and who is that tongue? I'm like, oh, that is Diana. I completely forgot about her. Same thing for Kyle. Yeah, we saw her for like briefly 5 seconds at the beginning of the episode, but I completely forgot that both of them were even on the cast. Although, even though Kyle has been acting up this entire season, I did kind of, sort of, a little bit, kind of did miss her this episode. I'm like, wait a minute. Something felt missing, and I feel like Kyle's present, even though she is so fucking annoying sometimes. She is missing in the cast. Is it just me, or I don't know? Did y'all miss Kyle? Did y'all miss Diana? Diana, she also gave away herself in that conversation with Dorit. She's like, yeah, I want to be away, far, far away on an island where the FBI can't find me. And I'm like, what does that mean, Diana? Because, a person with you and, all your skeletons that are supposedly in your closet, I wouldn't be making those type of jokes because, I don't know, it hits too close to your home. So, okay. So everybody's arriving one by one to Lisa's house. Cherie, she also joined the cast. They're all there one by one. Garcelle, she also arrives last, I believe, wearing this Balenciaga sweater. Dorit, she calls her out on it. She's like, wait a minute, my baby. You just made fun of me last season for wearing my Louis Vuitton logos, and now you're wearing Balenciaga? Huh, what's going on here, huh, baby? And honestly, it all looks tacky to me. If you have all these logos around your clothes like that, it just all looks tacky. But Garcelle did look better though. So they continue drinking wine, and I'm like, Lisa, are you gonna tell all of them to say thank you to Harry or whatever for serving wine? Harry Hamlin, he also shows up looking like he just got off the set of the movie The Matrix with this black coat, this black turtleneck sweater with this black jeans, and I'm like, wait a minute, in California it's hot. I'm not sure why everybody is covered up to their necks. And what I find so interesting is that the second that Erika sat down, Lisa was just like, oh, what would you want to drink? And I'm like, just a second ago last week, you told her, oh, you need to calm down with your drinking. Maybe you should slow it down. Here you are, you're offering her drinks. I'm not sure if you meant just like maybe some soda or juice or something, but again, that's not something that I would suggest to her. I would just be like, here, you're gonna drink some water bottle. You're not fucking in my event, okay? Sit there and be quiet. But Erika, she orders some tea, I believe, and that was that. Harry, he's just like, hey, Erika, how are you? And Harry, he must be working for the FBI or the police because he framed Erika. He was just like, oh, wait, is that your ring? Let me see your ring. Give me your hand. Yeah, cameraman, zoom in. Yeah, we're going to put this bitch in jail. Yeah, look at the ring. Look, the Panther ring. Yeah, this is really expensive. Wow, it's so cute. Thank you for showing that. I'm like, Harry, we're on to you. We know what you're doing. So then the conversation, I believe, Lisa goes on to say that, oh yeah, I cleaned everything around here. I blew everything with a leaf blower or whatever. And then the one thing led to another about blowing. And then the conversation was about blowjobs because Cherie, she was just like, Harry, I want to ask you a question. So if you had to leave a Yelp review on Lisa Rinna's blowjob, what would you give it from 1 to 10? Harry, he got uncomfortable and he was just like, -2, -3, I don't know, a 10. I think I would give it a 10. And I'm like, yeah, Harry, I'm not believing that. I don't believe it. 10, really? I mean, yeah, I get it, she's your wife, but I can't see both of them being intimate like that. I feel like they're both just kind of like business partners, and that's that. Did y'all see Sutton in the background? She was just like, 4. Is it a 5? That was cute, but again, I can't really see both Lisa and Harry being intimate like that, let alone a blowjob. Dorit then moves the conversation over to Crystal's eating disorder, and this whole conversation just went downhill from here. And I'm like, can we not discuss this while Crystal is not in the group? Like, what are we doing here? Dorit, she goes on to explain what she witnessed with her and Crystal when they went out to eat, I believe. And she's like, yeah, it was a lot going on. Cherie, out of all people, she's like, yeah, she self-indulges, and then she motioned like to her, putting her finger down her throat. And I'm like, Cherie, do you even know Crystal like that for you to even have an opinion? If I was you, I would have just stayed out of it and would have been like, yeah, I don't know the complete story of what she's going through, or I don't even know this woman. So until she's here in my face explaining what's going on, I'm not gonna have an opinion on it. Erika, you should also not have an opinion on anything, especially after your ignorant comments last week telling Crystal that she should take a laxative to make it feel better. Like, no. Lisa, she goes on to say, yeah, I think that she needs help. She needs a lot of help. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting coming out of your mouth, because you allow Erika to just constantly be drunk every single episode. You don't say anything then. But Crystal, she needs help. But okay. Garcelle, she stayed quiet and she was shocked at everything that was going on in this conversation. Sutton, in her confessional, she said, I don't feel comfortable having this conversation about Crystal's eating disorder when she's not here in front of us to have this conversation as well. And I'm like, yes, Sutton, you should have said something right then and there in their faces instead of in your confessional. Same thing for you, Garcelle. Both of you should have spoke up and said, well, maybe we shouldn't have this conversation. It's an inappropriate time since Crystal is not here. Maybe we should wait till she's here to actually have it, but nobody said anything. So this conversation was just all over the place. They all head over to the patio table where there's a bunch of bottles of rosé set up for them to drink, right? They all start drinking one by one, and I'm not sure how many cups anybody had at this table because it seemed like everybody was getting drunk. And I love rosé too. Rosé tastes so good, especially the one, I'm not sure what the rosé bottle that I drink is called. It has a little foot logo on it. That one, it tastes really good, especially the pink one. So they were all drinking, right, or whatever. They were all spilling cups and shit. Dorit's just like, Garcelle, I actually have this friend that really wants to talk to you. He actually wants to go on a date with you, and he thinks that you're like an amazing person. So what do you say? Are you down? And can you imagine if this person that Dorit is describing is the same person that Mauricio is trying to hook Erika up, and it's just like they clash over the same guy? Like, that is crazy. But Garcelle's just like, okay, but I'm curious to know who the man is and why Dorit didn't drop his name. So then Garcelle, she's trying to reach over something or whatever. She drops the drink all over Sutton. Again, I'm not sure if they were all drunk at this point. Erika, on the other hand, she's like on her 5th drink. And I'm like, didn't you just say a second ago that you were not going to drink? But you just promised Garcelle the last episode that you weren't going to drink anymore. But all right, here we go. Dorit, she tries to be responsible. And she's like, Lisa, should she be drinking? Should we tell her to stop? I'm not sure. Should we tell her to stop? I'm not sure. What should we do? You know, she tried, but I mean, Erika, she's not listening. She's like, oh, it's fine or whatever. It's okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then Erika, she makes the conversation about herself again and about sex and dick. And she's like, Well, I actually got some last night. Yeah, I got some last night. I kind of like to call it like a professional service. Like, I provide service to them and they provide service to me. So yeah, I like dick and I like sex. And then here comes Dorit acting as if she doesn't know. She's like, wait a minute. So, wait a minute. So if you have sex with somebody that you don't know, what do you call that? And I'm like, Dorit, come on now. Like, you can't be that dumb. First of all, it's called a friends with benefits. It's called a one night stand. It's called a couple of things, but you should know, something. There's a bunch of names for it. Come on now. She's like, what do you call it? And I'm like, what do you call it? Garcelle pulls Erika to the side and she's like, come on, let's go have a drink over there. Let's go sit down and produce a scene over there. I got some things I need to tell you. So then Cherie, Sutton, and Elisa, they stay back. Cherie, we have lost her to the dark side, I'm afraid, everybody, because I think she's going to be on Lisa and Kyle's side. I don't think she's going to be on Garcelle or Sutton's side, because she goes on to tell Lisa, I feel like you're so nurturing. I feel like you're so nurturing. And I'm like, Cherie, really? Like, this for you? How many rosés have you had? So like, Lisa's like, yeah, a lot of people think that I'm such a bitch. And I'm like, we think? I'm pretty sure at this point, by how many seasons you've been on the show, we already know. Sutton, she's making faces. She's like, Cherie, what? so then no, Cherie, she also goes on to say, you seem like a very lovable person as well. And I'm like, oh, Cherie, you know what? No, for Andy or Bravo, if you're watching, don't give her no diamond. Don't give her any diamond. Don't give her anything. Give her a pebble. I'm like, keep her as a friend of the show, because obviously she's not going to be Team Garcelle or Sutton, as I said. So then, what's her name? Lisa, she's all hyped about it. She's like, oh, you think I'm lovable? You're so delusional, but yes, I'm so lovable. And I'm like, okay, next. So then we move over to Erika and Garcelle, right? Erika and the Garcelle, she starts off with Erika and she's like, I really didn't like how you said that Sutton, my friend, she was going to be a liability. I'm so confused by that. Erika, she goes on to say, well, yeah, I just feel like, with everything that goes on between me and Sutton, I just feel like you're always going to defend her no matter what. And you're always going to be there before you be there for me. I mean, you could be there for me, but I feel like you'll always do much more for Sutton. And you know what? I did like how they were both having this conversation. They weren't, going back and forth. They weren't yelling at each other. They weren't going at each other or whatever. They were actually just having a peaceful conversation. Erika was giving her side. Garcelle, she, respectfully disagreed. Erika, she also respectfully disagreed. And they were fine with it. They were like, okay, we're on the show together. It is what it is. Garcelle is just like, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna do more for her. But again, just like how I mentioned earlier, why can't Garcelle be there for Sutton? Why can't she not be there for her and be there not as her security guard, but why can't she be in her corner? Because for you, Erika, the same way we could say the same thing for you with with Kyle, Lisa, Dorit, and even Diana. Just like I said earlier, if that was the case, last season would have been completely different. We would have had everybody on the cast coming at you, questioning you after questioning you for everything that's going on with you legally, if that was the case, but they didn't, right? Why? Because they're on your side, the same way that Garcelle is on Sutton's side. So again, why can't we all have our teams on this show? I'm not understanding why it's so bad that one person, Garcelle, is on her side, let alone your team. You have a squad of 4 people. You have Lisa, Dorit, Kyle, and Diana. So how come you don't question that? How come you don't say, guys, you guys don't have to have my back. I have my own back. It's fine. I can fight my own battles. When you have all of them fighting your battles for you and trying to defend you every other episode. So especially Kyle, you don't say nothing then. Or Lisa, you don't say nothing then. You have no issue when it comes to defending you. But let Sutton be a problem. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh, no. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. So then Garcelle, this is how you know Garcelle was a professional producer. And she's probably more at this point than Kyle, because she was like, do you think that I could bring Sutton here? And Erika was just like, no. She knew she was getting set up. Little did she know that Garcelle had already put it in Sutton's ear like 20 minutes earlier, like, oh yeah, she said you were a liability. So regardless whether Sutton had came to this conversation or not, she was still going to get exposed. And I'm like, damn, Garcelle. So Garcelle was like, I want her to come over here because maybe she has something to bring to the conversation. And maybe you two could fight and we'll have a good scene. But you're not willing to do it? Erika's just like, no, absolutely not. But again, little did she know what was about to happen. Garcelle and Erika decide to join the rest of the group, so they all come back. And she's waiting there hot in her seat. She is so upset. You could see it in her facial expression. She's just sitting there like, okay, let her sit down. Let her sit down. So as soon as Erika sat down, she was like, so why did you say I was a liability? Huh? I'm like, damn, son, can you let her at least take her seat first? But she was so upset and she came at her blazing. Erika, she was caught off guard. Garcelle, she was caught off guard. She was like, fuck. I mean, I told her that behind her back, but shit, now I'm exposed. Now she knows that I opened my mouth to Sutton. But she's like, you know what? This is going to make a good scene. So whatever. So Erika, she's like, well, I mean, I just feel like you're a liability because Garcelle, she's always defending you nonstop. She's always there all the time, including last year. She was just always there fighting your battles. And I'm like, again, you don't say anything to Lisa, who's sitting right there, or Kyle, who's back at home plotting on how to defend you. You don't say nothing to them. So again, I don't see where her argument is in this whole situation. It's almost like, her group, her and Lisa, they both just kind of see this whole situation from their perspective, and that's it. They think that, the audience is going to be on their side. When they're against them, it's just like, you're not making sense in this whole situation, Erika. So then, what's her name? Sutton, she goes on to say, well, it's not that Garcelle's defending me. She's just there being a good friend. Garcelle, she also says, what's wrong with me being a good friend? Why can't I always be there for her, just being in her corner? And again, like I said for the 100th time, why can't we say the same thing about Kyle and Lisa and even Dorit, but mostly Kyle this season? Why can't we say the same thing? Isn't she technically being a good friend to you, Erika, by supporting you and your bullshit and all your behaviors? Like, isn't that what she's doing? So again, I'm not sure why what's her name? Garcelle is such an issue to you and Sutton in this whole situation. You just don't like it that they're against you and that they're not buying into the BS that you're feeding them. You're just upset that they don't believe you and your lies, and it's okay. So then Lisa, she gets sucked into it because Erika, she adds her in, and she's like, you really did hurt Lisa's feelings and Harry's feelings with the whole charity situation, and I just didn't like that. And I'm like, part of me wonders if Erika and Lisa had a phone call prior to this event and they talked about it. They're like, okay, we're gonna get Sutton like this and we're gonna double team her and we're gonna throw her underneath the bus, and she's not gonna be able to say anything and she's gonna look exposed. But no, Sutton, she defended herself pretty well. Lisa's like, yeah, you really hurt me and Harry's feelings, and I just don't appreciate that. And again, she dug up exactly what I just said earlier she was gonna do with the whole charity event and threw it in Sutton's face. She's like, yeah, that was so unacceptable. You were trying to hurt me on national fucking TV. Why would you try to fuck me over? And I'm like, Lisa, I know. They got me spitting and everything. Lisa, I know you're not the one telling Sutton, why are you trying to hurt me on national TV when you made a whole career on this show of doing the same exact thing? Shall we bring out the receipts with Kim or Denise Richards? Like, have you forgotten about that? So again, it's almost like Erika and Lisa, they just see what they want to see. And it's almost scary too, because I'm like, are you really that delusional, or you just think that you're the victim in this whole situation? You're not. So then Santa's just like, I wasn't trying to hurt you with anything. And she really wasn't. Lisa, you talk a lot of shit on Watch What Happens Live and on your Instagram story as well. And the one time that Sutton even tries to be shady towards you, all of a sudden you can't handle it. So it's just like, imagine if the whole cast was like that towards you. You wouldn't like that either. But you could throw shade to anybody and everything, and everybody's supposed to be okay with it. But the second somebody returns it to you, all of a sudden, oh, you hurt my feeling. You hurt Harry's feelings. Oh, blah blah blah. You hurt his sauce's feelings too as well. Like, you hurt everybody else's feelings. Like, stop it. You hurt a lot of people's feelings on the show as well. And yet here you are still on it and still, causing havoc. So Sutton and her, they continue going back and forth. Sutton, I'm so glad that she was like, you just need an audience. You just need an audience that, right now for you to be bringing all this up. And that's exactly what Lisa needs. She just needs an audience and for people to give her attention and to see like, oh, look, I'm a bad bitch. I'm taking on Sutton and I'm trying to prove my point and I'm trying to back her up into a wall. And this is why, again, Sutton, I was telling you earlier, you look dumb and stupid sitting there at the table with Lisa, allowing her to just talk to you whatever way you can, because look, she turns on you just like that. Did y'all hear that shout out that Beyonce gave to Lisa Rinna in one of her songs on her new album Renaissance? I believe it was at the end of Heated, where she was like, oh, you're a flipping bitch or whatever. I was like, oh wow, she's talking about Lisa Rinna. Shout out to her. But Sutton was just like, you know what? You talk out of the side of your mouth. And then that's when Lisa just lost all fucking control. And she was like, you know what? You could get the fuck out of my house if you're going to talk like that with that bullshit. And as soon as she would have said that, you wouldn't have to repeat yourself twice to me, because I would have gotten up, but I wouldn't have left peacefully. I would have knocked all the shit over from the table. And then called my Uber. Like, wait a minute, I'm throwing a bunch of bottles of rosés all over the place and smashing them against the windows and shit. And now I'm leaving. I'm not leaving just peacefully like that. And I'm not even sure if Lisa was drunk in this moment. She was just all over the place. And then on top of that, she's like, you know what? If you talk about me and my husband and my kids, I'm gonna hunt you down. And I'm like, what was that necessary? I would have been like, can somebody give me a whole bottle of rosé? I need it because this bitch is going crazy. Like, it was so uncalled for. And again, she goes on to say, if you talk about my husband or my kids, or especially my husband, I'm going to come for you. Is that clear? Is that clear to everybody? Garcelle, she was just like, yeah, that's pretty clear. That's pretty clear. And if I was Garcelle, I would have been like, or what? What are you going to do? We could talk about your husband right now. We could talk about the husband. And this is the situation that I have with this whole cast, specifically with everybody against Lisa, specifically Garcelle and Sutton. I do not understand why they do not talk about Harry Hamlin. I do not understand. That is their biggest weapon. That is their biggest ammo to go against Lisa, yet nobody uses it for some reason. Andy Bravo, you need to hire somebody on this cast that will really, really, really take it there with Lisa and will really throw that in her face, because the second that she would have told me to get the fuck out of my house, I would have been like, your husband doesn't want me to leave though. Like, what is she really going to do? And her threat, like, what is she really going to do? Even Sutton called it out. She was like, is that a threat or is that a promise? Like, what are you going to do? Like, even if I do talk about your husband, what are you really going to do? The most you're going to do is probably, like, throw a drink at me or something. Are you really going to hit me? Are you going to get physical, Lisa? Are you? I don't see her really doing that. The most I see her is really throwing a drink, but that's that. But again, I'm not sure why nobody talks about her husband. I heard online, I'm not sure if this is valid or if it's true, allegedly, she has it in her contract that you can't talk about her husband. I'm not sure if that's true, but if that is true, that is a bunch of bullshit, and I will break that contract in a quickness. I would have been like, no, we're going to talk about, we don't have to talk about your children, but we're going to talk about your husband. So let's talk about this, and this, and all these rumors, why you don't want that out there. So they just let it go, and that was that, and Sutton was just looking stuck. And again, Sutton, she just sat there. I'm not sure if she left after, but again, after she said, oh, get the fuck out of my house, I would have left. And that was that. So let me know what y'all thought about this entire episode down in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.